Welcome. I'll just get the screen on. I might have to adjust it a little bit. Looks okay, doesn't it? You can see that. I think it looks okay. Maybe I'll tilt it a little bit. It's exciting, isn't it, the build-up? I hope you're enjoying the build-up. I certainly am. Well, I've made it worse now. Look at that. Build-up's getting better and better. You can see a bit of my arm, which is exciting. It's my thumb. And that'll do. Okay. That'll do, won't it? Welcome. Stand up, please. Kayotsaga, what I call Kayotsaga. That is a version of Tadasana with the feet apart. And the feet as if you're on train tracks, and the train tracks run through the gap between the second and third toe and out the middle of the heels. Your arms are by your sides. There's a sort of beautiful contrast between prana and apana, the upward energy and the downward energy. So as you drop the shoulders, rise the spine. Head in line with the spine as well, breathing through your nose. Look at that, it's already time to take the shirt off and get right into the yoga. So shoulders down, buoyancy at the pelvic floor, like just nudging energy from falling from the central channel. There's a real sense of just, we're just resisting the downfall or the apana of prana, or the sort of falling away of prana from the central channel, which symbolizes us ourselves falling back into samskaric or karmic patterns. So there's constant sense of awareness. I think you can probably feel it, I can, where there's a sense of sort of dropping out of the central channel and then being scattered into the various dualities, or keeping that little repetition, that nudge up into the central channel again and again. So breathing, shoulders down, of course, toes relaxed, calf muscles gently active, kneecaps investigatively active. Obviously, the relationship between the feet and the floor affects the kneecaps tremendously. Where the pressure is on your feet affects where the kneecaps are aligned. Arms up. When you're ready, tone your tummy up. Bend your ankles, knees, and hips. Utkata, the squatting. Of course, you can move up and down or whatever you need. Utkata does mean to squat. So if those of you who want to or can comfortably squat, that's an option. Or staying in this sort of half squat with a variety of different investigative movements that are helpful. Bouncing, moving. Helpful to what aim? Absorption. Disappearing into a rich experience. Inhale, come up, big circle, hands to hips, take your feet apart. Let's take the diagonal alignment. So we're going to bring the right foot forwards towards the front of the mat and the left foot back. It doesn't matter if you do it the other way, as long as one foot's forwards and the other one's backwards. So you've got a diagonal alignment across the width of the mat, with the front foot being the one that's forwards. The back toes shouldn't turn in, but they don't have to, they shouldn't turn out, but they don't have to turn in. So just make sure that they're not turning out. A wobbly, I hope, version of Trikonasana for you. Inhale, exhale. Enjoy all the multiple dance-like responses. So it's really nice, I think, to dance with it, to feel how the weight's changing on your feet. Breathing through your nose, soft eyes, soft jaw, soft brain. So there's very much an aliveness moment to moment that your breath is absolutely part of. The breath is absolutely part of. And we certainly don't expect a sort of still, sort of held or tight position. We often compare the practice to surfing, because a surfer surfs waves. She's on the top of a wave and moving with it. And that's exactly how yoga, I think, should feel. Inhale, come on up. Well done. Obviously, calmly, we swap. One foot back, one foot forwards. We're going to check, as we did before, that the back toes don't turn out. but they don't have to turn in like we would normally expect them to. The instep of the front foot is parallel to the front of the mat in a way that I think should be quite precise, because that helps us kind of usurp samskaric tendencies or habituated tendencies. Stretch your arms if you're ready. Inhale, exhale. Enjoy all the beautiful sort of subtle weight changes between inner heel and outer heel, for example. And, allow for that. Allow those changes. Breathe into them. Deep breath, soft eyes, soft brain, soft throat, soft tongue, soft eyes. This moment to moment to moment to moment, adjustment and readjustment, centered around the breath. Centered around the breath. Keeping the jaw soft, keeping the eyes relaxed, moment to moment to moment, adjustment and readjustment, centered around the breath. So I love it when it sort of rolls around a bit, this sort of listening, responding goes beyond thinking. The Hatha texts tell us unmani, don't they? Unmani, beyond the mind. Unmani. Really good. Okay, calmly. Come on up. And calmly, without rush, bring your feet slowly and easily back towards each other. Toes spread, breathing easy. Raise up the arms. So we've got the feet close or together. We're going to raise up the arms. Light tone in the tummy. Now we're going to bend the knees, but we're going to lift one heel up as we do it. So we just got one heel up. We can lean forward. So it's like a utkatāsana, but there's a little bit more emphasis on one leg than the other. And you can play with it. Obviously, we're listening and responding to the way the body is in a moment-to-moment manner. Neck soft, jaw soft, eyes soft, light tone in the tummy, hinging forwards from the hip joints, moving in a way that means that we're not holding tension in the neck. Inhale, come on up, big circle, hands to heart. Deep breaths, plural. Eyes soft, brain soft. Obviously, same the other way. So raise the arms, loosen the neck, and one heel up as you bend the other leg. And listening and responding. Again, hinging from the hip joints, again, feeling that a freedom of movement is absolutely allowed and encouraged. So just breathing into that, bouncing if it's helpful. Inhaling to come up. Big circle, hands to heart, deep breaths, perhaps. Jaw soft, eyes soft, brain soft. Perhaps there's a little, again, reminder to nudge that energy into the pelvic floor, or from the pelvic floor rather, into the central channel. Sometimes the heart rate's increased a little bit, which is good. Jaw soft, eyes soft. Again, there might be a movement. The heart rate being increased a bit is good from a yoga point of view, because we're stirring the pot of our body's energy, our prana sharira, the energy body. Back to the same move, raise your arms up. We're going to bend the knee, keeping one heel up. Okay, and don't forget to hinge from the hip joints. Jaw soft, neck soft. We're avoiding tensing up, and we're going to try to see if we can stretch the leg out and bring it back again. It's quite an exciting move. So we can do one more. Sound effects are optional. Heel down, come up, big circle, hands to heart, breathe through your nose, if you can. And again on the other side, so loose neck, raise the heel of one leg, and it's that raised leg heel that hopefully you get light enough that you can step, retract, step, retract, stand. Big circle. Jaw soft, eyes soft, throat soft, brain soft. Really feeling your toes, feeling the balls of the feet spreading out, repetition. And that very soft mula bandha, mula meaning the root, And so the root chakra in most Hatha texts and some tantric texts, but by no means all, is its position at the pelvic floor. Now raise up your first leg heel, so it's just the heel this time, and then feeling into what will be the standing leg, lift that leg up, reach your hands down and see if you can take hold of your big toe. Your other hand can be on your hip, or if you want to counterbalance, if you find that useful, you can. And then sometimes it feels good and right to extend the leg out, but not always. This is, of course, is utkatāsana padangusthasana. Neck soft, eyes soft, brain soft. Riding the waves. Bring the leg down calmly. Take a deep breath. Shake out a bit. I've got a heater on here. I think it's time to turn that off. Don't need that on anymore. Ready for the second leg. Let's turn up the lights a bit as well. Literally, the second leg of the journey is the second leg. And you feel grounded, earthed if you like. Then raise up. Reach down. Hold the big toe. That's the padangushta part. Pada means foot, of course. Angushta actually means thumb in Sanskrit. So it's the thumb of the foot. Again, hand on the hip, or if you prefer to extend it out, that's fine. Optionally, straightening or partially straightening or experimenting with straightening the leg. Optional. Depth from the back of the leg. Lift from the front of the leg. Awareness of the gluteal crease, where the thigh and buttock meet. Great. Bring your leg down with due care. If you need a little loosening, then take a little loosening. Take a few deep breaths as well to make sure that these are encouraging flow. And with toes relaxed and arms by your side, go ahead and raise up your first heel for a tree pose. So you can put your heel on your ankle, you can cup your knee, or bring the foot up high, the top of the inner thigh. Is the other option. Hands to prayer, or as a sort of traditional homage, holding a danda or imaginary danda, imaginary stick that is, which you could, again, homaging the ancient practice attested in Strabo's Geographica. You could raise that stick up if you wanted. Breathe through your nose if you can. Iterate and reiterate a sense of togetherness, coming together. Jaw soft, thighs soft, roots of the neck soft. Inner thigh glides upwardly. Front thigh glides upwardly. Breath comes and goes. Well done, everyone. You've got a danda in your hand, bring it down, hands, bring it down. Imaginary stick. And there it go. A danda doesn't mean an imaginary stick. It just means stick, but we're imagining one. Loose, 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 loose. Nice and loose. And relaxed and really informal. And then when you're ready, and let's not forget to put that H in when, we're going to raise up the other leg similarly. And we've got the same options, including right at the top of the thigh as an option, or cupping the knee, or keeping the foot low down. When we see tree pose in iconography or symbology, we often see that indeed the foot's quite low. If you want to hands in prayer or hold the danda, if you're holding a danda, raise it up to homage these danda swamis, as they might have been called. There's a Greek word that scholars think might be the Greek way of pronouncing and ancient Greek way of trying to say danda swami. You're holding a stick, tummy in, pelvic floor lifted. Breathing through your nose, if you can. Investigative awareness. moment to moment responding. Try not to tense areas that don't need to be tense, like the neck. Great. Bring your danda down. If you're holding it under, that is. And let it go. Place your foot down, take a breath. Shake out, shake out, shake out. Breathe, breathe, breathe. We're going to the first leg for utkatāsana padangusthasana number 2. That is with the leg out to the side. So lift up, if you're ready, the heel. Breathe in a way that's honest and natural and evokes a sense of sensual fluidity. And then when you're ready, reach for the big toe. And this time you might want to counterbalance because we're going to turn the leg out, and it might be that you keep it bent, or you might want to straighten it. The arm can be up or out to the side. It's up to you. On the hip. It's a moment to moment to moment vibe, obviously. I always quite like Thursday evenings because I teach it upstairs in our house, which is carpeted. Okay, bring your leg down and foot down, take a breath. And of course, the carpet is much less stable. I usually do yoga on a firmer floor, but I come up here because the house is busy. So it's a quieter place to do it. Anyway, I like the instability. It's different to every other day that I practice yoga. It's on a firm floor, but it's quite exciting. You might want to try that sometimes. When you're ready, same thing. Go ahead if you want. Hold the big toe. Lift up your chest, out to the side, maybe counterbalancing or raising the arm or keeping the hand on the hip as you like. Breathing through the nose. Avoiding undue strain. One area is like the neck. Deep natural breaths. Utkatāsana padangusthasana number 2. Okay. Bring your leg down if you're ready. Take a deep breath and wiggle if you wanna. That's it. Just let yourself be a little loose. Just like nothing to worry about. Just nice and loose and nice and easy. We're going to come into Ardha Chandra or Ardha Chandrasana. So for me, because the space is quite little up here, I'm going to bring my mat over to one side. You might want to block as well. So let me just grab a block out of here. A brick block's best, but it just happens to be just a purple block here today. Well, that's fine. That's going to be on the opposite side of the mat to the side you're starting on. So I'm starting on one side of the mat and putting my block on the other. You occupy a space more than half the mat, considerably more, about 3/4, depending on how tall you are. Left toes in, right foot and leg out, turning on the ball of the foot, finishing off the turn on the heel. Heel to arch is the alignment we want. So we'll check and double check. Stretch the arms for trikonasana. If you're ready, inhale, exhale. Moment to moment, all that subtlety. Hopefully the mind has laid down a little program for trikonasana based on the diagonal one that doesn't fit. This one, I quite like it when it doesn't fit. The top arm can be up, you can wiggle your fingers, you can have your fingers spread, you can have your hand on your hip if you prefer, you can even have your arm round, which is something I like to do, and hold the inner thigh. So there's a range of things that we breathe into that we can explore. Either way, bend your front knee. Don't let the toes turn in as you walk in. Your block should be lined up with your 4 outer toes and about the width or length of a block ahead, depending on which kind of block you're using. And you come up. So any height you want from your block. I don't usually use one in my practice, so it's quite nice to use one to sort of challenge the samskaras. We're always challenging samskaras or habit patterns. Samskara is just interpreted as habit patterns within certain
yogic movements, but in the Vedas, it doesn't quite mean the same. Samskara just means with action. So, there are actions that you take that are part of the Vedic rituals, and they're called samskaras too. But in many contexts, samskara means a sort of a habit or an action that's habituated. You can, some people want to, but not everyone, bend your leg, and some people quite like to try and hold the ankle. It's called utkatāsana, and it's an option for some, but not for all. It depends how long your arms are, doesn't it? You breathe into it. Okay, well done. Bend your knee and come back slowly. One of the advantages of starting at one end of your mat is you know where you're heading back to. Inhale, very slow and calm. Walk your feet towards each other and let's migrate. And block goes to the other side. Again, I'll move my mat. I don't suppose it's necessary for you, but it is quite an equal space here. Just me and the plant. He's just had some food, actually, so he's quite happy today. I can tell. Nice to see you, plant. Rather fond of all the plants in the house, of which there are many. Hands on the hips, back toes in, front foot and leg out on the ball of the foot. Finish off the turn on the heel. Check the alignment, heel to arch. Raise the arms. Great, breathe through your nose. Inhale, exhale. Trikonasana. So tree is 3, kona, same as cognate with the English word corner. An asana from the root as, which means to sit, plus the ending ana. So asana, like we have that ending quite a lot, karana, asana, and so on. So where the root is to sit, asana means sitting. Okay, good job. Arm down, bend your knee, walk your back foot in. There's your block. Hopefully it's lined up with the 4 outer toes, but you can also move it if you need to. Then you come up. Ardha Chandra, half moon. Breathe through your nose, jaw soft. The option for some to take Chapasana or to even just experiment, see if you can touch your leg. That's an option. It's more than enough, isn't it? Challenge already. If you do take Chapasana, there's a sort of bow that you make. The chapa means sugar cane, but it implies the sugar cane bows that are held by many deities, such as Tara or Tripura, Sundari, in some instantiations, even Shiva, Karma, the god of love, and so on. Breathing through your nose, chest open. Great. Release calmly. Come back to that point that you started on, the back of your mat. Make sure you bring yourself into a calm trikonasana. Lots of freedom to move. And then coming up on the inhalation. Well done. Level the feet up as you face forwards. Hands on the hips. Tune into that little encouragement at the pelvic floor to keep energy from drifting into habit patterns. So just keeping in the central channel, and in so doing, we don't reach out to binaries, success and failure, like and dislike. You never step in the same river twice, Heraclitus. So therefore, if you go into binaries, you won't be open to the way things actually are. We're going to go and come into Trikonasana again, but with a little variation. Back toes in, front foot and leg out, turning on the ball of the foot, finishing off the turn on the heel. We're going to see if we can press our forearm into our thigh, just fairly gently, just above the knee. And as we do that, there's a natural tendency for the leg to resist the pressure of the forearm. In other words, to sort of tone up and wake up. You can play with it just as we normally encourage and allow and appreciate in Vajrasati Yoga. The hand can be on the hip or raised up, or, Jim Tarren's favorite, to reach around. That's my absolute favorite, especially in this variation, but not everyone can reach around because we all have different arm lengths. So we do what we can do, but hopefully you're feeling some counter energy from the pressure of your arm just above your knee into your quads, and then the quads back into the arm. Inhale to come up. Good job. Feet forwards, hands on the hips. Breathe deep if you feel that's coming naturally. And turn the back toes in. Front foot and leg out on the ball of the foot. Finish as I turn the heel. So I said that quite quick. Check the alignment. Ready the forearm. Come into the pose. Pressing on the leg with the forearm without holding the breath. Keeping the eyes soft. The arm can be raised, or the hand can be on the hip, or the arm can be round behind your back and holding the thigh. But it's always got this beautiful dance, listening, responding. You can't dance with someone else if you're not open to their energy, which means you're not prejudging or presupposing or predicting or any other kind of pre. Good job. Okay. Come on up if you're ready. Breathe nice and easy through your nose. Hands onto your hips, jaw soft, eyes soft, tuning into the pelvic floor, perhaps with a little movement of the pelvis just to find the pelvic floor beyond thought. So the direct experience of the pelvic floor is beyond thought. And so is everything, people are beyond thought, but we make thoughts about them and then we don't know them. Turn your toes in and spread the little toes as much as you can with TLC. Inhale, up from the groins. Exhale, fold over the groins. The thighs rise up and your fingers come to the floor. For some people, the pelvis keeps moving, so that's fine. Just if it does, it does. For most of us, we come to our fingertips or even take a block and bring the hands to that because we don't want to close the anterior spine. So it's quite nice, even if the pelvis tilts, for some of us to go backwards to Prasarita Padottanasana Ekam. Prasarita Padottanasana means spread out, Prasarita. Pada, foot, we've already mentioned that. Ut is intense, tan is stretched. Prasarita Padottanasana. And we've discussed asana already. So if you do find in Prasarita Padottanasana Ekam, number one, that the lower back starts to dip down and it keeps dipping because the hamstrings keep releasing the pelvis, then not so common, but possible for somebody, it might be that after a while, the back would feel compressed and tense and it would feel better to come a little lower. So that's an option. Keep the jaw soft, the eyes soft, the brain soft. Balance and rebalance. Breathe through your nose if you can. Balance and rebalance. Jaw soft, eyes soft. Breathe through the nose if you can. Wherever you are, whether in Prasarita Padottanasana Ekam or Dvi, come to fingertips and walk your feet a little closer so you can lift up using your breastbone And then walk your feet towards each other and come down to the floor, where we're going to sit with our legs in a crossed-legged position, sukha, gap between the legs and the pelvis, buttock flesh drawn out and back. It sometimes, quite often, in fact, is better to sit on a block, and sometimes it's better to sit on two. If you're on two, you need a blanket under the shins to stop the legs traveling ad infinitum. That's a rule. 2 blocks always means a blanket under the legs. So 2 blocks, 1 block, no blocks. So all the same. Well, it's actually not all the same. If you have no blocks but you can't feel any lightness, then that's not good practice. Let's not forget that yoga with supports is attested right back to the time of Patanjali, 4th century Common Era, in 246 and onwards. The commentaries, particularly the Bhasha, so Vyasa's Bhasha, Vyasa's commentary. And Vyasa, of course, means editor, and is probably Patanjali himself. So that goes back 1,600 years, but the actual usage of props is clearly earlier. We have iconography of yogapartas going back, way back, before 2,000 years ago, in places like the temple at Sanchi, the Buddhist temple. You can see yogis on that, which are older than 2,000 years. And yogis variously hold a yoga stick, or they have a yoga pata, which is a yoga belt, or they might even use ropes, we find in later hatha texts, and so on. So props are normal. Now, as I'm talking, hopefully you're exploring a bit of movement, see if you can soften tensions, bring about a sense of union. Inhale, lift and turn. Doesn't matter which side, because we're at home. If you're teaching in a class, of course, you've got to get everyone to turn the same way, otherwise people turn towards each other. You can't see their alignment so well if you're a yoga teacher. Eyes soft, jaw soft, brain soft. Breathing through your nose, soft pelvis, soft plantar fascia, soles of the feet. Keep that breath flowing. I suppose I should mention that those long-armed folk that might have held the leg in Trikonasana could again hold the leg in this pose. I think I have to say, I think it's unusual for people to be able to hold the leg. So, don't feel like you should be. Release and return to center. Palms up, deep breath. Some sighs. We're giving, aren't we? This is the point of the practice, is to give. Dana, D-A-N-A, dana, giving. Inhale to lift. Exhale, other direction of turn. Aparigraha. Soft eyes, empty grasping. Breathing through the nose if you can. Buttocks relaxed. No tension at the tailbone. Again, the unlikely option, but just in case, of reaching round. For me, my arms aren't actually that long, but I use my fingers on the thigh flesh and kind of walk my fingers around that way. But it does require a fair bit of elasticity on the pectoralis muscles on the back arm. So you don't necessarily have to have long arms, but you have to have a lot of elasticity and
Also, willingness, happiness even, to surrender tension. Thighs breathing deep. Natural, honest, spontaneous. Natural, honest, spontaneous. Keep that breath flowing. All down, return to center. Jolly good job. And come out of the cross leg position. So come off a block if you're on a block as well. And we're going to come into Ubhaya Padangusthasana. Ubhaya, meaning both. Padangushta is holding the big toes. So it's Ubhaya Padangusthasana. So holding both big toes before leaning back, which should give the bum quite a nice massage, which you can really get into if you want. There's the option, if it causes a meditative modality, to straighten one or both or legs with them apart or together, or to keep them bent. It's all about your breath, nothing to do with keeping up with the Joneses. Unless the Joneses are breathing freely and deeply. We're not trying to look right, we're trying to feel right. It's quite different, isn't it? Not trying to look right, trying to feel right. So eyes soft, jaw soft, neck soft, tongue soft. Breathing natural, breathing honest, enjoying your life if you want. Legs together, legs apart, legs bent, legs straight. Ubhaya Padangushta just means holding the thumb of the foot. Okay, coming out of the pose and crossing the legs the other way to the way you had them crossed before. The other one's in front. And again, take your time. I quite like to elevate my pelvis and just shift around until it feels right. And then, of course, the buttock adjustment as well. We make sure there's a gap between the legs and pelvis. And breathing through your nose if you can. So jaw soft, eyes soft, brain soft, throat soft, tongue soft. It's meditative mode, meditative mode. And perhaps some meditative movement. Until you start feeling more settled, absorbed, integrated. Then we interlace the fingers, stretch the arms diagonally away, keep that relaxed, surrendered, trusting vibe in the legs, and then raise the arms. When you're ready, make sure the neck's not tight or tense. Breathe through your nose if you can. Investigate. Always, investigate always means, it always refers to absorption, movements and positions and relationships that conduce to total surrender, total meditation. Great big wide circle to release. Well done all. Take the palms facing up, index finger, thumb tip touching. Jnana mudra or Jnana mudra, whichever your mouth finds it easier to say. Jnana or Jnana. Those are the two options. Both of them are correct options in Sanskrit. probably historically the jñā is probably the original way of saying it. It's migrated into a gñā. Okay, wiggle the fingers, and we'll take the legs into a fairly generous stride for this upavishta, seated, corner. So there's the corner. You're seated. Obviously, you can use a block to sit on. The corner of the block will face forwards. It will project just in front of the pubis. And that means your thighs should be free while the sitting bones are supported. And it's worth drawing the buttock flesh out and back as well. Toes face straight up. Take your hands when you're ready, like a tiger. Very good, tigers. And then bring your hands behind you, fingers pointing back, and roll your shoulder blades down your back. And breathe through your nose, eyes soft, brain soft. So we're looking for buoyancy, lightness, release. Buoyancy and lightness in the lower back and chest. Release in the thigh bones and in the breath. Play, of course, is always welcomed. Now, some of you might find you can lean a little bit forwards. The pelvis can. Just the top of it can come further forwards than the bottom. The whole pelvis can lean. And sometimes it's worth experimenting with leaning forwards and then pulling back, just to sort of introduce to the stretch inhibitors the possibility of coming forwards so that they can, these specialized cells can begin to release. Some people, of course, are comfortable to go very much further forwards. Well, that's fine too. With the hand still on the floor behind you is an option. Or if you prefer, you can have the hands forwards to slow down any overly quick descent that we might not want. And of course, most of us are going to be far better sitting up, rolling those shoulder blades down the back as we were from the get-go. It's always investigative. It's always meditative. It's always breath-centered. So investigative obviously means explorations around meditations. If you came down, that's all come up. Either way, it's fine. And then we're going to bring the legs back together if we can. Hopefully we can. We're going to come into Janu Shirshasana. It's the time of the week for me, Thursday, when I'm upstairs in the bedroom here in the loft at 83, and I use the infinity strap, which I never use or ever think of using ever, unless I'm up here, and then it's the only thing that's up here. And so I'm happy with that. But any belt is great and fine. I'm quite fond of this infinity strap. It's definitely Kadine's. Yeah, there you go. Enough on that. Anyway, a belt's fine. If you're not on a carpet, I'm on a carpet. My mat's on a carpet, so that's got the softness. Fold your mat over. I'll do it anyway. Fold your mat over, so about a third of the mat is folded. Now, the handy thing about this mat is it's two colors, brown and green. So when you fold a third, you can see how much of the mat is folded over. It's got to be pretty generous. And it's nearly always the case that people don't fold enough of the mat over. Because once you're folded the mat, you sit on it. You can sit on a block, by the way. If you are sitting on a block, you're going to pull one side of the block back. And then we're going to draw one leg back. It will be the same as the side of the block you drew back if you're sitting on a block. And the foot can go anywhere. Yeah, the inner knee of the opposite leg, the inner thigh of the opposite leg, or the very top of the thigh of the same leg in some cases. It's slightly more tricky, but for those
of you with elasticity in that area, the adductors. You might find it useful. Either way, it's worth pausing with your fingers on the floor. Relax, breathe through your nose. Soften your eyes and jaw. Take the strap, yoga strap. Probably you've got. I don't suppose you've got an infinity strap. And actually, they would be too short for most people because you can see it's only a fairly short strap. But if the pelvis leans, that's fine. You go with it. But it's not. We're not closing the front of the body. It's a pelvic leaning, so it might be a little tiny bit of movement, and we breathe into that. Some people have got a lot of elasticity that you breathe into that. It doesn't matter one bit how close to your leg you end up, but it does matter that you're coming into it through release. You're releasing tensions, not overriding them. Releasing tensions, not overriding them. This, of course, is Janu, Ni, Shirsha. Janu, Shirsha. So you release your head away from your back knee. Keep the jaw from tensing. Release your head away from the back knee, which itself is softening. Well done. Come up calmly, without haste. And obviously, we're going to stretch out. Maybe a little appropriate rub down to redistribute the energy more universally, so it's not over localized anywhere. So this is why we do this Vyana Vayu, this all over energy bath. If you're sitting on the block and you tilted it before, then obviously you're going to need to tilt it the other way this time to accommodate the foot that comes back. So when you're ready, bringing the other leg back, moving the block if necessary. The foot goes to the inner thigh of the opposite leg or the inner knee, or the top of the heel might go to the top of its own thigh. I guess that's also part of the dimensions, how long your shin is will make a difference to that. Fingertips on the floor soften what can be softened. The inside of the knee, the popliteus muscle should soften. And then it may be that there's some tilt comes. If there is, you can go with it at the pace that's dictated by the body. I used to call this nature's pace. So moving at nature's pace. So, that's juxtaposed against my pace, which is really an arbitrary label, me, myself, and I, which really just means habituated drives. We say my pace, it's just habituated drives. So you soften as you go, you breathe as you go. Soften and breathe as you go. Melt inside the knee of the bent leg, physically, mentally, with the breath and the body all together. Keep coming back to that back knee, soften it, psychophysical release. Okay. Slow and easy, come up without haste. Stretch out the legs. Give yourself a little rub down. And once you're feeling all good and groovy, we better chuck in a Adho Mukha Svanasana, a downward facing dog. So if you've folded the end of your mat, now is the time to open it. Tuck in your t-shirt. If you've got a loose fitting t-shirt and you don't want it to come over your head in the pose, and then come up into Adho Mukha Svanasana when you feel ready, downward facing dog. And the heels go back, the thighs go up, the back of the thighs go forwards. All of these movements are very beautifully related to each other as a sort of dance beyond thinking. Dance beyond thinking. You breathe into it. Armpits are stretching, especially the inner armpit getting longer, and then the outer armpits catching up with that. As I say, the heels can go backwards. Sometimes we like to bend and extend our legs, which can be really nice. Armpits, armpits, armpits. Well done. Sadhvi, or sadhu, depending on your gender. Coming down, sitting on a block for Siddhasana. Now I'm going to use a brick block because I just saw one. I happen to have a blue brick block, but you can sit on a regular block with a short end facing forwards, or even two. And of course, if Siddhasana is not a comfortable position for you, by all means, select a different one. This is for the Vyana Vayu, the energy, all over energy. Here's a very brief reminder. We're going to be breathing into the pelvic floor. And without breathing out, take another bit of the in-breath. Without breathing out, take another bit. So you're kind of compiling bits of inhalation on top of inhalation with no exhalation happening. We imagine that we're doing that into the pelvic floor. So it's like inflating the space with energy. Then we hold the breath there while we take the following action. So very brief demonstration here. And when you breathe out, you imagine you're breathing out of all the pores of the body. Let's do that together. Breathing and rebreathing into the pelvic floor. We sit in the non-dual center. This sitting in the non-dual center is sometimes known as Rigpa in Tibetan, which roughly translates to the Sanskrit word vidya, which of course can mean lots of things, including science or seeing, as well as referring to mantras in the Shakta tradition. They are called vidyas. Or wisdom can just mean wisdom. Sometimes people use Mahavidya, wisdom goddesses, or the great wisdom goddesses. We can lay flat on our backs for our final practice, our final sanketa. In fact, we'll do two sanketas together, corpse pose, and concentrating on the back of the skull. So lay yourself down, make sure you're comfortable. And it's going to be eyes closed. So make sure you're warm as well, warm and comfortable. And when you're ready, laying down spaciously and symmetrically. Both of those elements together, spacious and symmetrical. And of course, eyes closed, jaw soft, laying on your back as if you were dead, as the text tells us. Eyelids over the eyeballs. And the eyeballs releasing. And that release of the eyeballs goes right through the optic nerve to the occipital lobe of the brain at the back, which is where we're told to focus as one of the practices that conduce to melting, one of the sanketas. As ever, the great thing about Zoom yoga is you can lay as long as you want. And I always encourage, if you do have more time, to just spend as long as the pose wants you to spend there. But if you have a set time that you can do this practice for, then you might wiggle your fingers and toes now, or at the point when it feels right and natural, in a couple of minutes or 5 minutes or 10 minutes. When you feel ready, you'll bend your legs, and again, that might be now or in 2 minutes or 5 minutes or 10 minutes. You'll place the soles of the feet on the floor. That's an opportunity when that happens to release the back with a deep breath before rolling to the left for a while, settling there, and then rolling to the right, settling there. Give yourself enough time on each side, and the time will come up from the side, but we can lay where we are, or if you sat up, that's fine. At this point, we'll transfer our merit, but I hope some of you will be able to carry on laying in the pose. So even from laying down position, if you're there, then you can feel a sort of om affirming in the heart after you hear these words. Any benefit that we gain in our acting in this way go to the alleviation of the suffering of all beings. Om.
I'll say my fond farewells. Continue to lay our hope for another 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 or 10 minutes. And I'll see you at the next Zoom class, which of course will be Saturday, if you can come to that, or in real life, even better, at the Brighton Buddhist Centre. Obviously, there's a class in real life also tomorrow evening at the Brighton Buddhist Centre. See you soon. Loads of love.